In the know, nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Let's do it, baby. All right, let's go get it.
Let's go get it. Purple Daily. Daily Vikings entertainment, digestive discussions, all sorts of different things happening on the show this week. We just want the Vikings at the end of the day to win a Super Bowl, however, before we die. And a 10-2 start is a really, really good way to go down that path. And gentlemen, every single Wednesday, we make predictions. Write that down. We're going to get to it and explain how it works if you're new to the show here in just a moment. But the show is presented by our friends over at TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Learn more at TCL.com. Mackie, Judd, our executive producer, Declan. Judd, people keep sending us, it used to just be they would send us photos of their cans, like their Surly cans, like their Furious cans. Now they're sending us like Before I Die tall boy pyramids.
Shrines.
Or shrines
They're
of
shrines.
Before I Die. Yes, it's ridiculous.
It's awesome. Yes, and so, in fact, I got one last night that was 2 signed helmets in a Vikings theme, and also a Before I Die shrine. And it was fantastic. And guess what? You can do the exact same thing. But if you want to get on the shrine starter kit, then what you need to do first is stop at the liquor store and pick up some Surly Brewing products. Now, Before I Die is the theme of the 2022 season, of course, but Surly offers such a wide variety. It's such a deep team when we're talking about Control, Chaos, and Furious. And I could go down the entire list that you can't go wrong unless you don't stop and pick some up. So Surly Brewing is the goal for certainly the weekend to watch football with. And as always, as we're seeing, when you do pick it up, show us your cans on Twitter. I'm at Jay Zolgad, Score North, our account as well. But we want to see what Surly product you're sipping on.
All right, let's get into it here, boys. Let's fire up the music, and we'll explain how Write That Down is so revolutionary.
Most make predictions and then never admit they're wrong. Yeah, that's not Mackie and Judd. This is the place where we just totally own our horrible predictions.
Write this down.
And eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Write that down.
It's Write That Down.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
With Mackie and Judd.
That's right, the only show in America that puts statistics next to our predictions. No one else has the cojones to actually go out on a limb and show you just how chronically wrong they are throughout the year, throughout multiple years. Maybe it is a career death sentence for us, but we are still here. Don't believe the imitators out there, the NFL networks that steal this segment and pretend like it's theirs, and then they don't circle back on the actual stats. 3 Vikings or football-related predictions from everybody each week. They must be quantifiable. We keep track of completion percentage and touchdowns. And listeners, if you want to participate like Amir is about to, just send us a message. Send it to Declan through the Score North app. There's a feedback tab, and we'll get you scheduled sometime here. To set the scene, we've got, we got probably 2 months left here because this is a football season calendar, the 2022 football season. So any predictions that are made between now and the Super Bowl, basically, are alive and well for the 2022 season. And Declan has held, for the better part of the year, the completion percentage and touchdown lead. But recently, things have gotten really tight among the 3 of us with completion percentage, and they've gone back and forth in touchdowns between Declan and myself. So we'll see how things shake out this week. Are you guys ready to be held accountable?
Yep, let's do it.
We'll start with Judd.
Hey,
One thing came off the board, and it was a good thing. You said Mike White will throw at least 2 interceptions against the Vikings. A buzzer beater for you.
Yes.
But a touchdown, predicting multiple picks. Nice job.
Thank you.
Well, Macadac had a tough week here. He said the Vikings would beat the Jets by 16 points or more, but then he hedged on it when 2 days later it's saying it would actually be a close game. So I thought about it for a couple days, and sometimes when you make the prediction on a Wednesday, you don't have all the information. But
Or you haven't thought it through, really.
No, it's true.
You just
and I said Tyler Conklin would have a revenge touchdown against the Vikings. He actually dropped like 2 he had a bad game.
He didn't play well, yeah.
validating the Vikings. Listeners, Dustin said Justin Jefferson would score 2 touchdowns against the Jets.
One.
He got 1. And Pierce said Greg Joseph would have a 90% field goal percentage this year, which is almost mathematically impossible at this point, and will miss 3 or fewer extra points. This should have come off the board a while ago. He's missed 5. So Pierce, sorry about that. All right, Declan, mixed bag here. You said Cousins will post a passer rating above 100 against the Jets. Jalen Reagor would have multiple receptions for the Vikings against the Jets. He had 1 reception. You said the next sponsor of the Super Bowl halftime show would be a social media-based company. Apple Music is the sponsor. That is not technically a social media company.
It's not. I remember going back and forth of either a social media or a streaming service because everyone kind of thought, like a Spotify or obviously an Apple, but that's not the game. I got burned.
It's a tough one. You did have this touchdown that was a 3-item parlay. Vikings would score first, never trail in the second half, and they would cover the spread. 3-item parlays are almost always touchdowns in the game of Write That Down. So with that, Declan's still clinging to less than a 1% completion percentage lead, 36.2% over Judd's 35.5%.
Wanted it.
And I'm lurking not far behind. I'm just, 1.3% behind at 34.9%.
Yep.
Listeners all the way down at 20.7%. Declan and I are tied with 13 touchdowns apiece. Check down Judd with 7 touchdowns.
That's uncalled for. I got a touchdown, okay? I mean, I'm just coming off a touchdown.
And the Zach Wilson listeners are at 5 touchdowns. Wow. It's not been a good season. The Kenny Pickett listeners.
There's so much shade on Write That Down so far.
Well, they've been terrible. Listeners, you guys got to pick it up, man.
You guys are great. Don't listen to us.
You're awful. No.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to the
I think what happens is listeners come on, and they're certainly not, you don't care about the completion percentage. You want the touchdowns.
Right.
But you've gotten overzealous in your attempt for touchdowns. And so sometimes, too, listeners will make season-long predictions, and then you wind up having like 50 things come off the board at the end. So they might rack up some like garbage time touchdowns here. But we're gonna need Amir to step up here. Let's bring him on. The listeners could really use your help here, Amir, guest listener predictor.
No problem. I'm coming in for the clutch. I'm going to be the Justin Jefferson of the listeners group. I'll do that today.
You're gonna be the fourth quarter pharaoh, Kirk Cousins here for the listeners.
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys can see here. This is how long I've been a Vikings fan. This was got a Halloween costume in 1999, I want to say, from this random store in Egan. I don't think it exists anymore. It's that plot of land is where the outlet mall currently is. Mm-hmm. It was like a Randy Moss starter kit. It's like the elbow pads and the shirt and everything. And this is like, I've had this in my closet for like all this as decoration. So
I love it, man. And Judd, you just pulled out a random bobblehead. Who do you have on the screen?
Burt Blatterman, baby.
Oh,
it's Burt. Circle me, Burt. You see, he's got the little telestrator thing. He's got the pen to circle.
It does not look like Burt.
No, I thought it was Arn Anderson for a second, Phil. I thought Judd had a wrestling bobblehead.
The enforcer, Arn
You
Anderson.
Are hereby circled. You are hereby circled. That's what it is.
It doesn't look like a telestrator pen, but I'm going to leave it at that. All right, let's get to Write That Down predictions here. We're going to start with Amir, who's been on the Mackey and Judd version before, so he knows what he's doing. We'll go Amir, Judd, Declan, and then back to me. And really the only rule here is they must be football-related or show-related and quantifiable. So, Amir,
all right, boys, here we go. So I had to do some searching. I couldn't find the home and road split averages, but I found NFL.com, the game-by-game log. I looked up TJ Hockenson's stats in 2022 at Ford Field prior to the trade. I came up with 18 receptions, 323 yards. Comes to an average of about, using my God-given gifts of longhand multiplication and division in my head, that came out to about 4.5 receptions for 81 yards. And his season high at post-trade, he's been good but not great. He's been in the clutch, but his single game total for the Vikings is 70 yards. I've also in the last 2 times that the Vikings and Lions have met, he scored a touchdown. So write this down, fellas. On Sunday, TJ Hockenson will have 5 or more receptions, 81 yards or more, and will score 1 touchdown.
Okay.
I love it. I literally had written down 5 or more catches, 75 or more yards, and a touchdown or more in a Hockenson parlay. So I'm going to rethink mine. Amir, who brought the data and the science behind his prediction, I just made it up.
Yeah.
So Amir beat me to the punch on this one for sure.
Good use of math skills too, dude. I lack all of those.
Well, use whatever skills you have to make your first prediction here, Judd.
All right. I'm going to actually drive the ball down the field today because I just feel like it. The Vikings will win their next 3 games, beating Detroit, Indianapolis, and the Giants. The Vikings will win their next 3 games.
Because he feels
I
like
feel
it.
like driving. I woke up today and I chose the violence of driving the football down the field.
You think Kirk ever walks into the huddle? Do you think Kirk O'Chains ever puts the cigarette down, walks into the huddle and says, guys, the play call just came in. They want us to run up the middle. But we're going to throw deep because I feel like it.
Wasn't that the Matthew McConaughey like Lincoln commercial for years? Like, I just feel like that's exactly what I'm feeling from Judd there.
So Matthew McConaughey was just like driving around in the dark in a Lincoln, contemplating life.
Yeah, me and McConaughey, same age, same character.
Just at a drive-through, at a White Castle drive-through, just contemplate and laugh. That's right. Sometimes the simple things with onions on top or what get you through the day. Dex, what's your first prediction?
I think this is enough for a touchdown. You guys tell me. The Vikings will win the 3rd quarter point differential against the Lions. It's specific enough. They are usually horrendous in the 3rd quarter. So basically, they will have more 3rd quarter points than Detroit. Is that enough for a touchdown?
They'll outscore the Lions in the 3rd quarter.
Just in the 3rd quarter. So if they, 10-7, however it shakes out.
I feel like you need to add a little seasoning.
I'm going to look
to
this
that.
up.
I mean, they're horrendously bad in the 3rd, and this is extremely specific for us quarter.
I'm just going to look up real quick here. 3rd quarter points per game so
They're
far
minus
this year.
52. Minus 52 in the 3rd quarter.
Look at this.
I think it was Gessling who tweeted it. It's like 86-34.
Take credit yourself.
So
3rd quarters.
And the Vikings average 2.8 points per 3rd quarter. The Lions average 3.8.
Okay.
So I would say for this particular matchup, the Lions are only outscoring the Vikings on the season by 1 point per 3rd quarter. We definitely need an add-on here if you want it to be a touchdown.
I'll just keep the completion because I just want them to be good in the 3rd quarter. But they'll win the 3rd quarter point differential.
Okay, that's fair.
Write this down.
All right, write this down. Here's my Hockenson prediction. I'm not going to get scientific. TJ Hockenson will get a game ball after the game is over. Did I steal yours?
No.
Love it.
TJ Hockenson will, and Kevin, this is not a touchdown.
No.
Because Kevin O'Connell gets
the
very
long
game,
snapper
game ball happy. But they do have to win the game because we aren't gonna see. It's kind of a parlay because I'm saying they're gonna win the game, and Hawkinson's gonna get a game ball. Because the only way we'll know. Yeah, the Vikings post these videos on social. The only way we'll know is if they win and they post the video.
Yeah, throws the ball to him. Hawk's like, I don't care about this ball. Here, you take it.
I'm going back to the Lions, actually. I don't like it here.
Write this down.
Okay, back over to Amir.
All right, guys. The last 3 games this season and last season combined, the last 3 Vikings-Lions games have come down to the very last play of the game. A lot of these games this year, barring the Dallas game, obviously, but basically the last 2 months, it's come down to the last play of the game. And I believe I read a stat. Every single month this season, a different defensive player has recorded a game-saving takeaway. So write this down, fellas. The Vikings-Lions game will come down to the last play of the game, and a Vikings secondary member will have a game-stealing interception on the last play.
Wow.
Okay.
I want to build in some protection for you here. Okay.
Yep.
So are you saying at zeros, or what if they intercept a pass like they did on Sunday and then they do a kneel down?
That's sort of what I meant. I'm sorry. Let me clarify. Just the last So basically, a situation like last week, or like against Chicago, or against all those other times.
So basically, the Vikings will intercept a pass, and then the game will either be over or they will just run out the clock with like kneel downs or whatever.
Yeah, because the last three Vikings Lions matchups have all come down to the last play. At the Vikings, man, it was 2 months ago. I can't remember. I know. Was it a field goal at the end? No, the touch. Oh, of course, the KJ Osborne, the touchdown.
Yeah.
And then the takeaway, and the takeaway on the last play. Then last year he had the St. Brown score, and before they had So the last 3 games in a row between these two teams.
3 games ago, it wasn't it the Kirk Cousins, Mike Zimmer awkward exchange on the sideline? That was the first one. That's right.
No, that was the Carolina one. The Detroit one was just the
Carolina?
Joseph. The Detroit one was the Joseph 50-yard bomb when everyone thought he would miss it.
But the exchange occurred
one.
After that. You like that?
Yeah. Okay. All right. We got it. We got it.
Defensive play.
We're good.
Totally makes sense.
All right, Judd. Back over to Judd.
Okay, the Vikings are not going to get the top seed in the conference, but I do believe that if they do indeed pay off and beat the Lions, the Colts, and the Giants the next 3 games, that they're going to be in very, very good shape to clinch the 2nd seed. And in fact, write this down: Kirk Cousins will sit out the Vikings regular season finale in Chicago.
Okay. So your prediction is that he will sit out. That's the prediction?
Yes. Write this down. Kirk Cousins will sit out because the Vikings will have clinched, but that's off the record.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Write this down.
Back to Declan here.
All right, write this down. So both these defenses are sieves in yards between the Vikings and Lions.
Mm-hmm.
So write this down. There will be a combined 750 yards of offense in this game. 750 yards of offense in this game between the Vikings and Lions.
All right. So each team with at least 3, what's my math there? At least 375 on average for each team, or one team goes over 4, something like that. All right. Write this down. Let's go with a Dalvin Cook parlay. I think old Dalvin, to Declan's point, these are bad defenses. The Lions are one of the worst run defenses in the league. Overall, they give up the most yards per play of any team in the league. Vikings are 3rd from the bottom. But I think Dalvin, I'm going to go 3-item parlay. I want the touchdown here. 100+ yards on the ground. So he can maybe he'll do some stuff in there. But I think on the ground specifically, 100+ yards, at least a touchdown. And he'll break a 30-yard run or more in this game. Maybe he'll just break like a 75-yard touchdown run, and I can just collect almost all of this in one play. That would be great.
Yeah, I like it.
But I could see a big, off the record, I could see a big Dalvin Cook touchdown run in this game. Over the left side, over Ezra Cleveland. He breaks loose, 55-yard touchdown run or something. I could definitely see that happening.
I like it.
So, all right, back to Amir.
Write this down.
Your 3rd and final prediction.
I'm debating. I have a bunch in my brain. I had one really good one, but it's not going to count for the 2022 season, so I probably won't use it. I had one crazy one. I don't know.
Go with the crazy one, dude.
Go with the crazy one, dude.
Go with the crazy one.
If I say something, but it's for after the season, what would it count as? Next year? Or
yeah, you put it on the board for 2023.
Okay, then write this down. The Minnesota Vikings in the 2023 draft will select Anthony Richardson out of the University of Florida, and he will sit, and he will not start the 2023 season. Kirk Cousins will start the 2023 season. Anthony Richardson will sit for 1 year and will be the Vikings starting quarterback in 2024.
Woo! So this is a big parlay here. This is a big parlay. Dex, you got all that?
Yep.
Okay. I love it. Amir taking swings into 2024 right there. Just like ringing it.
Like it.
All right. Amir, since you've got this life-changing platform right now on Purple Daily, is there anyone in your life you'd like to thank that helped you get here today?
Everyone, all my buddies on Twitter, that if they say I'm negative, I'm just emotional. All these games I tweet, all these, as you guys probably have monitored my Twitter, all these games I say, it's over. Right when I tweet it's over, they come back and win. So the last couple games, my buddy, a good friend Josiah, a couple of our good friends are like, I'm here. You gotta be. We need you. So they've already proven me wrong at this point. I thought they wouldn't win more than 8 for whatever reason. They're really good. So I think I'm just gonna keep it up with the reverse jinxes, like my guys tell me. Just maybe
Love it,
keep
man.
doing what I'm doing.
Love it, man. Amir, great stuff. Big swings, big throws. We'll see you next time. I love when people when they absolutely just launch the ball down the field, like Cousins, Jalen Rager's down there somewhere.
Yep.
I'm just gonna light it up, man.
Yep.
Just gonna light it up.
Take some good fortune sometimes. That's awesome.
All right, let's before we get to our final 3 predictions here, let's shout out our friends over at Nutrisource. Nutrisource Pet Foods, the official pet food and dog food specifically of Mackie and Judd and Purple Daily. And let's just say Maya Mackey's and probably Stella's gut health and digestion, because of Nutrisource, is in a lot better shape than Declan's or mine these days. So maybe we should be eating more.
Or mine. Or mine.
Yours.
But yes, you two are old men. And you know what? Stella, she's about 12. So her gut health is incredibly important. I'm going to tell you now, each morning she goes out and she does her business, and she is in great shape for her age, especially. You know why? Largely because of, as you said, Phil, our friends at Nutrisource. There is Stella sitting with the training rewards treats, which I ran low on. She got very upset. I had to go get some more. But yes, she loves the food. She loves her breakfast. And most importantly, she loves feeling good. And she feels good because of Nutrisource.
NutrisourcePetFoods.com. That's NutrisourcePetFoods.com to find a Nutrisource retailer somewhere near you. They're basically in every state. So wherever you listen to Purple Daily, you can find them. Also, if you're looking for a great date idea this month, or maybe a little stocking stuffer, the Chanhassen Dinner Theater's a great spot for. I've had like my wife and I have been there twice on dates for sure in the last several years. So Judd, you got those gift cards handy by chance?
Right
Look
here,
at those.
baby. Yes. Right here. Do you want to be a hero? Then get one of these, because you know what? The gal's going to love it. And as Phil said, it's a great date night. So it's not a gift card of like, okay, you go shopping while I sit home. It's a date night gift card, which is going to be fantastic. And it lets you pick what you want to see. And there is something for everyone. A big splashy musical on stage, Footloose, right? That's a lot of fun. A concert series, tribute concerts, the Eagles, Sinatra, Patsy Cline, or the comedy improv show at Stevie Ray's is great fun too. And so as part of the date as well, you're going to get a great dinner, great steak, prime rib, the famous chicken chan. And it's this simple: 952-934-1525, 952-934-1525, or go online to chanhassendt.com or stop in. But again, it's a great date night. It's a great stocking stuffer. It's a great gift. chanhassendt.com.
Love it. All right, we're going to go one more lap here. Judd, what's your third and final prediction?
All right, I'm going to push out a prediction here, and I know that Declan won't be shocked by that because that's my MO, but I've been thinking about this all week. I think we might talk about it on Reckless Speculation Thursday, but I'm going to put it on the record right now. Brandon Staley will be the Vikings defensive coordinator next season.
Okay.
Brandon Staley. The Chargers are disappointing. I think that there's probably some trepidation about a defensive guy developing their quarterback, Herbert. I think the expectation is or should be tracking far closer to Joe Burrow. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers go out and try and find a KOC-like guy to coach him. And that's going to leave an opening. Brandon Staley is a Vic Fangio disciple. He is young. He is great friends with Kevin O'Connell. And write this down: he will be the Vikings DC next season.
All right.
Write that down.
Like we're going there. Okay, Dax, what's your third and final prediction?
All right, write this down. The Vikings beat the Lions by 7 or more points.
Okay.
7 or more points. They will beat Detroit. I know the Lions are favorites. I think it's 2.5 still as of this morning, or this prediction. It moved up even more. I wouldn't even be surprised.
I think it's
but they'll win by 7 or more.
How about that? Someone was asking on Twitter, is it an upset if the 5-7 Lions beat the 10-2 Vikings, or if the Vikings as 2.5-point underdogs beat the Lions? What would the upset be this weekend? Interesting.
No
okay.
idea.
Would you guys believe that Kirk Cousins only has one 300-yard passing game this season?
Wow.
It was at Buffalo. He threw for 357 yards. He did throw for 299 against the Patriots, but so technically kind of has 2, but he's not lighting the sky up like he's been known to. I feel like when I think of Kirk Cousins, I think, 300, couple touchdowns, no interceptions. That's especially noon games. He doesn't have any of those games so far this year. So I am going to predict, this is a 3-item Kirk parlay. He has not done this yet this season.
Wow.
300 plus yards, 2 or more touchdowns throwing, and no interceptions in this game. So I'm going for the touchdown here.
You got a big day then, Dalvin and Kirk going off.
So basically, if I'm right on these, Dalvin and Kirk will combine for over 400 yards of offense in this game, which is plausible against this Lions defense.
Absolutely.
And you might still need more if you want to win, because they're probably going to rack up some points on you as well. So, all right, boys, there's your write that down predictions.
Write this down.
Your accountability session.
Write that down.
The only show in America that actually keeps track of our predictions using statistics, in-depth analytics and statistics. What are people saying about the Vikings? I have a couple interesting things for you guys here. Let's start with RG3. We're looking for national talking heads that maybe don't think the Vikings are frauds, right? Stephen A. Smith thinks they're frauds. We played a clip on Mackie and Judd today. Everyone thinks they're frauds. Well, not RG3. He says on Twitter, the Vikings are 10-2. Wake up, people, all caps. They are 9-0 in one-score games. When adversity hits, they come together as a team and find ways to win. The blowout losses to the Cowboys and the Eagles were bad, but at some point, winning 10 out of 12 games has to matter. Time to stop ignoring the Vikings. Judd, get the flag. We found a national talking head that doesn't think the Vikings are frauds.
Get the flag. All right, there it is. Gotta hold my notes
We
down
did it.
so they don't blow up in front of the camera, but there they are. RG3. You're good at what you do, man.
We found
Great
him.
on TV.
I really like him actually on TV.
He's really good on TV. I'm not kidding.
He is.
I was surprised, but he's great.
And he's had some things to say about Kirk in the past because Kirk had took his job, but he's buying into Kirk and the Vikings at 10-2.
I like how he put it. At some point in time, it's not just luck. 10 wins is not luck.
Yeah. Well, and I'll give you another one here from Dan Campbell in a second, but we kind of talked about this. If you're looking for sort of more on the fraudulence angle, Mackie and Judd has turned into sort of like a Purple Daily post-game show over the last couple months. Usually we'd be talking a lot of Wolves, Wild, and Twins on Mackie and Judd, but those teams are all just kind of buzzkills lately, so we're talking a lot more Vikings. The Gopher football team, we thought that was going to be a thing 2 months ago. We're going to talk some Gopher football.
That was a fun
I guess we
48
could
hours.
preview the Pinstripe Bowl at some point, but we basically have a second version of Purple Daily over on Mackie and Judd. But at some point, when you're 10-2, it doesn't really matter how you got there. You've racked up 10 wins. You're going to play in the playoffs at this point. I could see if, like 5 games ago, if the thought was, they're 5-1, if they keep playing this way, they might not make the playoffs, or they might not win their division. Therefore, there's a talker there about, okay, like, could they sneak in as a wild card team if they regress, like in wins and losses? Well, at this point, they're guaranteed home unless they really falter, like lose to the Lions and then lose out or something. But like they're going to win the division. They're going to play a home playoff game. Mm-hmm. They are one of the top 12 scoring offenses in the NFL. You're going to have to deal, whether you think they're frauds or not, you're going to have to deal with the Vikings likely at US Bank Stadium in January if you are an opposing team in the NFC. So label them whatever you want, but like you're going to have to deal with them in a road game if you're San Francisco. If you're Dallas, which they already dealt with the Vikings.
Right. Well, and what's the difference? So I understand if the general theory is, well, they don't look like a team that's going to win the Super Bowl, I can buy that, but that doesn't make you a fraud. Like, that's my question. Fraud is thrown out now so much, right?
Yeah.
This guy's a fraud. This team's a fraud. Okay.
So are the Seahawks a fraud? They're a fraud, right? They only have 7 wins. They're
Geno
7-5.
Smith.
What are that? They're a fraud.
Yeah.
They're a fraud.
And does
San Francisco's a fraud. They've lost 4 games. Like,
and does you're not going to win the Super Bowl make you a fraud? Like, that's, my response is no. Like, that doesn't make you a fraud. Can you question the Vikings? Absolutely. That's cool. That's fine. But I feel like the the national talking heads, to a large extent, have to have such honed takes that it's black and white, right? So the Vikings are just being dismissed. Okay, they've won 10 games. They're going to be, I think, the second seed.
Yeah.
You can't just dismiss that completely. And I would say that about like the Packers. Like if the Packers were 10-2, I'd say the same thing. Are they perfect teams? Do they look like championship teams? Perhaps not.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, I mean, we have seen teams that I think at this point in the season previously have been labeled as frauds win Super Bowls.
Hey, real quick, Dex, do we have that Stephen A. clip that we played on Mackie and Judd? I'd love to play that because he says something that I bet if you were to go back and, well, you could play this game all day. I love me some Stephen A. I think he's hilarious, and he's just like kind of playing the game for $9 million a year. Yeah.
So he doesn't really care what Phil Mackey says, but go ahead, play the clip.
But if we could play the clip, he's going to say something toward the end of the clip, and then I'm going to throw something back in his face.
The playoffs are on national television. It's high profile. The games matter. Every game count. This is it. One and done.
Prime time.
And in prime time, and that damn Kirk Cousins, that dude, okay? God. We don't see that come playoff time. And we ain't going to see that come playoff time. I'm just not a believer. Now, I will stand corrected once I'm corrected. But if you asking me coming into, as the playoffs approach, how much I believe in them, the answer is little to none. I believe in Dalvin Cook. I believe in Justin Jefferson. I believe in those two dudes, yes. Do I believe in them led by Kirk Cousins? I got to see it to believe it.
You could re-rack that exact clip 10 years ago, and I'm sure it exists, and replace the words Kirk and Cousins with Joe and Flacco or Eli and Manning before the 2007 season. Hell, you probably find
Eli,
clips
sure,
after 2007 of people still doubting whether Eli could do it. And so, to me, does it mean that Flacco is going to do it all the time like Brady did or like Mahomes might? No. But as Vikings fans, you're just looking for it to happen once in January, where he gets Eli Manning or Joe Flacco hot for 4 or 5 weeks and does what he needs to do. To me, the big, yes, there are definitely questions, and me as the number one Kirk hater, I have questions about Kirk as well and whether he can do it against the best teams, the best defenses, which he's done very well against some of the best defenses in the regular season. I have questions. But I also think, based on what he's done in the fourth quarter of some of these games with Kevin O'Connell, I believe he is capable, once in his career, of doing that in January for 3 or 4 games. And so, to me, the question is less about, will Kirk Cousins be there throwing punches? I don't think he's Mahomes, but I think he's fighting this season. It's more about the Vikings defense. Will the Vikings defense give up a 40-burger to the Cowboys again? Will they just, will they give up 400 yards to a starting quarterback and just be completely out of the game? So everyone's focused on the Cousins part of the conversation, but really the defense is probably the thing that would separate them from some of those Giants teams and the Ravens from 10 years ago.
But what's weird about the Cousins discussion, and it seems like this gets ignored nationally way too much, is the O'Connell factor. We're talking about, well, his stats aren't great, but he's winning games and blah. And what we're not exploring is the why. And the why is no question about it. It's a different partnership. Do I think that Kirk Cousins is going to get in a playoff duel and be outstanding? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't. But everything about this season so far has been an exploration of something we haven't seen before. So this whole discussion, it's weird to me. We're talking about Kirk like he's still this independent contractor, but he's not. He's got a coach that pumps his tires constantly, which with his personality clearly helps. But more importantly, has convinced him he can win games when it matters. So the playoff discussion to me is not, can Kirk Cousins go out there and will his team to a win? It's the O'Connell Cousins, almost like a law firm partnership. The partners have each other's backs. Yeah. And so far that's worked. So I feel like we're still talking about Kirk as if it's, 2020. This is a different Kirk. Now, how far can this Kirk go? I got no clue.
Yeah, we don't know yet. Yeah.
But to have the discussion in a vacuum of this is what Kirk has always been, this season has been the 180 of Kirk Cousins, including the fact that the stats aren't king.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder too how I know how the national heads feel, and Sans, Eagles, and Cowboys fans. I know how they feel about the 2022 Vikings. But realistic, Randy and I every week on Mondays on this YouTube channel, we go and look at the playoff picture, and we just ask each other, "Are you scared of this team?" Week by week, because everything changes in the NFL, right? One week team looks good, one week a team looks bad. I wonder how teams like Seattle would feel about coming in and facing the Vikings, how San Francisco would feel coming in and facing the Vikings, Tampa Bay fans, etc. Because that is a different beast. Like, we know that the Vikings have lost badly to the Eagles and Cowboys, and right now, luckily, the Vikings have a leg up on the Cowboys from a seeding standpoint because they probably can't win their division, which is great news for the Vikings. But I wonder how the other NFC playoff teams, the Taylor Heineke fans, the Washington Commander fans, and whatnot, how do they feel about facing the Vikings? Because the national talking heads don't really believe in them. And I wonder if those other fans that would be making, Commanders Daily like we do here on Purple Daily, how do they feel about potentially playing the Vikings in the wild card weekend?
Is there a Commander? I'm going to Google that real quick here. Is there a
Commanders Daily?
Commanders Daily.
I'm guessing the Commanders don't want this smoke, right?
Oh, there's an Instagram account, Washington Daily? Commanders Daily. All right. There's also the Locked On Commanders podcast, but there's a Locked On for everything.
Of course there is. There's a Locked On for, yes. There's a Locked On Judd podcast.
Locked On Zolgad?
Locked
Just
On
about
Dog Walking.
my life.
Yeah.
They break down my life every day. It's outstanding
Locked On Reading
stuff.
Glasses. For those of you passionate about reading glasses.
For those of you who like the glare off of Judd's glasses, you can lock on his glasses. I did tell Phil, I told Chip on Purple Axis that we taped this morning. I do think that there is an interesting conversation here, though, playoff-wise, too, because this whole thing, like, it's all on Kirk. Kirk's going to fail. I think it's on coaching. I really do, because the playoffs are individual games. Nothing else at that point matters. There's no more like if you lose, you're done. So it's not like the Cowboys game. The Cowboys game fit into a season, and yes, the Vikings got blown out, and yes, they prepared to try to win, and it failed. But when you get to the playoffs, it's a different thing. It's completely different. And I told Chipper, I said, to me, offensively, the biggest change among them has to be this. Kevin O'Connell's play calling ideas have to be tweaked. Like when it's 2nd and 2, you can't throw and it's incomplete. And then you're like, but I got another pass play. Like, you got to run the ball and get the first down. Because the most important thing to me, and it showed up in the Jets game again, is you can't have the 3 and outs. That doesn't work. Like, you'll get beat. And the other thing that I think defensively has to be adjusted, and I don't even know if I would show this much until the actual playoff game, but if you play Dallas, San Francisco, you got to come up with something that consistently gets Jordan Hicks off the field. It's either a 3 safety big dime package, or you get the confidence in Asamoah to play him. But I mean, Pollard basically gave you a blueprint of how you can get your ass kicked.
Yes.
So I think it's coaching too.
Yeah, there's some. I feel like they're having a hard time with what to do with Jordan Hicks, because I think Kendricks is the better of the 2 aging linebackers. Kendricks is actually according to PFF, one of the highest graded run stopping linebackers in the NFL, but he's been brutal in coverage.
But he's not coming off the field. You're right.
Right. So, and I was asking Boone this on the Trenches episode of Purple Daily too. And he kind of checked me on it. Like, I brought kind of a football fan take. I said, in a 3-4 defense, you got your 2 middle linebackers are aging in this case. They can stop the run fairly well, but they just get brutalized in coverage against, scat backs or tight ends that run routes, or if they have to get matched up on a receiver, good luck.
Right.
I said, wouldn't you rather put a fast middle linebacker next to Kendricks, like an Asamoah, so that at least you've got someone sort of making up for potential holes in speed and coverage? And he said, yes, but if you feel like, and he didn't say that Asamoah was this, he said, but if you have a younger guy that's faster, but he doesn't know where he's supposed to be all the time,
yes,
he'll either overrun a play or he'll be out of position because he's a beat late, not because he's slow, but because he just doesn't process what's happening. So being a step slow isn't necessarily just tied to speed, which I totally understand and get, but that's what we don't know behind the curtain. What is sort of they drafted Asamoah for a reason. He's been out there a few times per game, but he's only played maybe 40 defensive snaps all year.
Yeah. Yeah. Thor told us that Asamoah coming out of the draft is very suspect in coverage. So That's a problem. That's why I think what you do is you go big dime. You go big dime package.
This guy,
Wow.
This guy.
Okay.
Bynum, Harrison Smith, Metellus, who I think they trust and like. Okay.
They like Metellus, yeah.
But what I'm saying is if you go big dime, you're not going to be completely lost against the run, but you're going to have a safety who understands coverage principles more. And that leaves Kendricks as the lone linebacker, but it gives you a better chance against McCaffrey, a Debo, a Pollard.
I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Ed, call me.
According to Pro Football Focus, the second highest graded Vikings defensive player this year among guys who played at least 100 snaps, Josh Metellus.
And he got in a big dime a couple of times on Sunday against the Jets. I wonder if they're experimenting with it.
Big dime package.
I wouldn't consistently show big dime now until the playoffs.
Did someone ask you to hit a certain over under on big dime? Are we close?
Big nickel. We've talked about big nickel. I like to talk about big dime. It's because dime is ordinarily you go down to one linebacker and put another corner there, right?
Yeah.
But Metellus is a safety. That's three safeties, three corners.
He was a Michigan man, right? He wasn't he I think he's a Harbaugh guy, Josh Metellus. So he was a late round draft pick by the Vikings, but anyone who comes from that Jim Harbaugh learning tree probably knows the fundamentals and what they're doing. He asks a lot in the NFL and in college. Just for fun here, the highest graded defensive players for the season for the Vikings, Kairis Tonga, number 1.
Yeah, he's
been
really
good.
6 games.
Yeah.
And then Josh Metellus, number 2.
Yep.
And excellent in coverage. Daniil Hunter sneakily at number 3.
Yep.
Hasn't been wreaking havoc like he had in previous seasons, but he's been good. He actually he destroyed Mike White on a play. I think it was halfway through the fourth quarter of that game on Sunday.
He absolutely laid him out. It was a great
He came through. Booney broke that one down on the film, and what happened was the Vikings. This is why you do it. The Vikings showed 7 guys at the line of scrimmage. So they showed 3 down linemen, and Daniil Hunter, who had moved around, he was on the left for some plays, was on the right for some plays, and he had a hand on the field turf for this particular play.
Okay.
But then they walked Kendricks, Harrison Smith, and I think Jordan Hicks also walked up. So I should just bring the play up for you guys. But what happened was they dropped Wanham back into coverage, but they sent 5. Maybe even 6. They definitely sent an extra man or 2, including Harrison Smith. And so in that washing machine, the left guard got out of sorts and just left a wide open hole for Daniil Hunter to come through. And you see Mike White's just getting laid out, like white chalk around him on the ground, laid out. And the football flies up in the air, and it was an incomplete pass. But that's the case right there for, I'm not saying you have to blitz on every play, but the Vikings have like the 5th lowest blitz rate. Well, you've got a bunch of dudes that, it's not like you have a bunch of clueless blitzers that don't know what they're doing. You're bringing guys like Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks, Daniil Hunter coming around on a twist or something. These guys know what they're doing. So I get that the blitz hasn't been effective so far this year, but I got to think that there's more creative ways to dial some stuff up like they did against the Jets, mostly in the first half.
It's the pressure rate too, right? Like the big thing is, well, does the blitz get home? Okay, if it does, that's fantastic. But it's the pressure rate and it's the perception of pressure. I mean, Kirk flat out said post game that part of the reason why his accuracy was off was because of his perception of pressure. Because the pressure rate from the Jets was not terrible. Like it wasn't embarrassingly bad for the Vikings, but they were creating the thought process in Kirk's mind pre-snap, right? Here they come, here they come, here they come. So he tends to make more mistakes. That's where I think I want to say against the Jets too, and this is complete eye test. I have no facts to back this up. It felt like Harrison Smith was moved around more than I've previously seen this year. I have no idea if that's correct or not.
Let's take a peek here. So he came in,
but I think he should move around. I think he should approach the line of scrimmage at times and then drop back at times and give you different looks.
Yep. I'm curious how many times Harrison was sent on pass rushes here. So pass rushes for the game, Harrison Smith only twice. But I think you're right. It did feel like he was sneaking down to the line of scrimmage a little more often. They sent Jordan Hicks 6 times, Eric Kendricks 5, Chandon Sullivan 4 corner blitzes for him in that game. So they didn't blitz a lot, but I think sending Chandon Sullivan 4 times on corner blitzes feels like a thing. I don't know that I've seen much of that this season.
Pre-snap movement is the key to life. You got to have the pre-snap movement.
Football. Really do.
Because if you don't have that, guess what? You're predictable.
Having a good insurance company is also a good key to life. If you run a business, you just want to feel like you've got that guiding hand helping you navigate potentially choppy waters. And that's what Federated has specialized in for over 100 years. They really value face-to-face relationships as well. They're not just, a company over email. It's an actual relationship with a real human that is backed by a company with over 100 years of experience in guiding businesses. FederatedInsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. I don't know how long Livia's been operating. Maybe you do, but I know that they've been helping a lot of Purple Daily listeners lose weight over the past couple years, Judd.
And indeed, and in fact, they helped me more than a year ago now get rid of 40 pounds. And here's the most important part. They help you keep it off. It's Livia Weight Control Centers. It's not a diet plan. It's not a quick fix. It's a fix, yes, but then it carries over long-term. And if you get started now, so don't wait for Jan 1, get started now. You're going to save 50%. That's exactly right. 50%, lose up to 10 pounds or more in your first 2 weeks and up to 2 pounds per week thereafter. It is this simple. 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia, LIVEA.com. If you're not in town, it's also fine. In fact, we've had Purple Daily listeners and viewers from Florida, from Tennessee, from all over the country join this plan and lose weight. And so join now. In fact, give yourself the gift of good health and save 50%, Livia.com. And then you know what? Tweet us your pictures. Skinny you looks fantastic. At Jay's Olgad, at Score North. Tweet us your pictures of how good you look and feel. You will find the rewards from Livia.com.
I wish I couldn't find the video of this. I just saw, in terms of what are people saying about the Vikings, I just saw the Dan Campbell quote to the Detroit media here, right? Getting people hyped for this game on Sunday. The Lions are 2.5-point favorites. Dan Campbell says, this is big. It's big for our players. It's big for us. Shoot, it's a big game for them. But man, look, they're all special. But this is one of those games. This is why you're into coaching. This is why you're into playing. This is why you love the game of football. This is going to be awesome.
I'm flying the flag just for that. Just for that. We're flying the flag. This is why we do it. This is why we do it.
Dan Campbell versus Kevin O'Connell.
I'm running through a wall right now.
A couple of football men ready to prepare their armies for battle at Ford Field on Sunday.
Football men preparing football men to do what football men do each and every Sunday.
They got to eat. And we will eat after the game on Vikings Vent Line, where we just turn the show over to you guys every single week right after this game is over. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and the like button to help spread the word about this Vikings community you guys are helping us build. Please do so. And we'll see you tomorrow for a State of the Offense and also on Sunday on Vikings Vent Line.